Welcome to the Fun Astrology and Merriman Market Analyst Saturday Financial Podcast. I'm Thomas Miller. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the free weekly newsletter published every Friday evening on MMAcycles.com. We publish this on Saturday. This is for the week of July 15th, and it is being recorded and published on July 13th. Let's get started with an article from Friday's Wall Street Journal. It says, why wait until September? The Fed's publicly stated criteria for a rate cut, that it can be confident inflation is moving down toward its 2% target, appears to have been met. The core consumer price index, stripping out food and energy, rose just 3.3% in June from a year earlier, the slowest pace in over 3 years. This year-over-year core CPI rate has either slowed or stayed the same for 16 straight months, making the markets freak out over a supposed inflation rebound earlier this year look decidedly overblown. Now, Ray's commentary on this wild and crazy week. He says we are in the midst of a cosmic hurricane. The winds of change in financial markets are accelerating as the Fed finally has gotten about all the data points needed to be met to reduce short-term rates. Although a bit delayed from our original forecast that the Fed would pivot and rates would likely come down by summer, the accommodative aspects to the Federal Reserve Board chart of December 23, 1913, 6:02 p.m. Washington, D.C., are now kicking in. The major indicator is that transiting Uranus is making a trine to the Fed's natal Jupiter, which started in May 2024 and peaks January 18, 2025, plus or minus 2 months. The anticipation of the nearly certain Fed rate cuts received a powerful boost with a negative 0.1% monthly reading of the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, last week. On that news, stock markets soared, with all three major U.S. indices making new all-time highs. This occurs as the Mars-Uranus conjunction in late Taurus takes place at the fixed star Algol, also known as the Demon Star. As we discussed last week, hard aspects involving Uranus can either be reversal or breakout signatures. The latter is more common when the markets are near multi-year or all-time highs or lows. In addition to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, NASDAQ, and S&P, new all-time highs were also recorded in the Netherlands AEX, Australia's ASX, Japan's Nikkei, and India's Nifty stock indices. In other markets, gold and silver enjoyed healthy rallies into Thursday, but both fell a little short of their multi-year highs of May 20th, an MMA 3-star Geocosmic critical reversal date, and were up smartly from their recent lows, coinciding with the Saturn-Neptune retrogrades on June 28th and July 1st, plus or minus 3 trading days. Crude oil had a decent week, but also fell slightly short of its recent multi-month high made on July 5th. Bitcoin and Ethereum had an interesting week, with Ethereum making a double bottom at 28.22 on July 5th and July 8th, whereas Bitcoin held above its low of July 5th at 53,523. This is a case of bullish intermarket divergence, which was also accompanied by a case of bullish oscillator divergence in Bitcoin. As Mars conjoins Uranus and Algol on Monday, it will be interesting to see if the accommodative interest rate outlook will coincide with a significant rally here. And now this week's short-term Geocosmics. Beginning this section with a quote from Elon Musk on his X platform, he was replying to a post that said, Argentina hand-counted 99.9% of their 27 million paper ballots in less than 6 hours. Musk said, this should be a requirement. If Argentina can do it, so can America. Then this quote from Dr. Paul Donovan from UBS Weekly Blog on July 12th on Friday. The Tariff Spin Cycle was the title of this. Dr. Donovan says, in January 2018, U.S. President Trump imposed tariffs on imports of all washing machines into the United States. Imports were taxed at a rate of 20%, rising to 50%. U.S. President Biden allowed the tax to lapse in February 2023. What did that tax do? By the summer of 2022, U.S. consumers paid 42% more for a washing machine than they did in 2017. Euro area consumers paid 3% more, and UK consumers 2% more. The tax increase was large and resulted in a significant drop in the foreign supply of washing machines. The number of units imported roughly halved. Domestic manufacturers had less competition, allowing them to raise prices. The effect of the tariff was to take money from U.S. consumers and hand it to the U.S. government as tax payments and U.S. washing machine manufacturers as higher profits. Competition in the United States has still not fully recovered." End quote. Now, Ray's comments, he says, it's all a cosmic prelude to Jupiter squaring Saturn. Markets have defied gravity, which is par for the course when it comes to Jupiter conjoining Uranus, which happened on April 20th, then was followed by Jupiter of optimism, sextiling Neptune and trining Pluto, late May and early June of 2024. Still, markets continue to defy as Jupiter transits into early Gemini over the same degrees that Uranus will hold when it trines Pluto in 2026 to 2028. This is the AI revolution that is centerpiece of the techno-renaissance discussed in the forecast books of the past 3 years. It's what Nikolai Kondratiev termed the communications revolution that defines the long-term economic cycle named after him. Yet, even in the new era cycle, AIRA, there will be pitfalls along the way. Note that cycle commenced at the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on December 21, 2020 at 0 degrees Aquarius. One or two of those pitfalls is due within the next 5 years, and quite possibly the first comes soon after the god of all things great, Jupiter, finds itself not only posited in its detriment sign of Gemini, but also about to begin a 10-month, 3-passage series of squares, or hard aspects, to the god of all things considered challenges and obstacles, Saturn. With Saturn, it is the law that holds some people back. With Jupiter, there is this belief that it's all legal if you don't get caught. But together, if you cross the boundary, or if are in denial about reality and your place within it, chances are you'll get caught and be held accountable. Hence, the current election cycle in the United States may be entertaining and exciting, but it's also likely to cause increasing stress for leaders of both or all parties. And indirectly, the political drama is likely to have an effect upon the economy. Depression, Jupiter square Saturn, Gemini to Pisces, is not just a collective psychological state, but it can also be something connected to the economy and finances. In other words, the buoyancy present in the stock market today may disappear by this time next year, and quite possibly between the first and second passages of the Jupiter-Saturn square, between August and December of 2024. The top will happen first, probably triggered by a Mars transit. One is underway now with Mars conjunct Uranus and Algol. The next will happen August 14th to 19th when Mars conjoins Jupiter in the sudden reversal sign of Gemini, square to Saturn the first time, and also part of a T-square with Venus, of finances and luxury, and all under a full moon in a T-square with Uranus. That's like trying to conduct a sane conversation or speech under the hangover following a tequila binge and too much potato salad. Mid-August is thus probably a good time for the president and ex-president to lie low. But he can't. It's just a little ironic that the Democratic convention is taking place August 19th through 22nd. Expect bitter fights over policies and rules, which at best might be novel and entertaining, assuming the electric grid is stable, and worse, like a hurricane, tornado, or earthquake. I don't think an astrologer was consulted in choosing these dates, which is a shame if the Dems really believe democracy is at risk, because under this combination, democracy, or the lack of it, is likely to be on full display, and it may not play out well. In sympathy, Financial markets may also not play out very well. How did this week's newsletter begin? We are in the midst of a cosmic hurricane. Aren't you glad that we have at least some navigation with some sense to it called astrology and this level of interpretation? Wow. Ray, thank you. A lot of us may adjust our portfolios accordingly and safen up between now and mid-August. Well, let the fireworks begin. Monday is the first of the domino effects that he mentioned in this newsletter, and we'll be right here following it all along the way. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. See you on Monday with a full week of podcasts ahead.